Welcome, late. Oh my god, are you serious? Right. For God's sake. Right.
Is that the Ollie shouts?
Alright. Ladies and gentlemen, I must apologise for that awful sound of behaviour you just heard. But other than that, welcome to the 5th episode of UoS Insight. The most irrelevant opinions on the internet. Catchline pending. Today's episode is called Eyes on MSI. The reason being is last week we made some predictions about the upcoming playoff series, specifically LCK, North American LCS, and EU LCS. This time we made a substitution, a roster change, swapping out the fantastic player that is Sammy's for an even better player, a legendary player, one might say, a massive legend, maybe not quite there, maybe a huge legend, but not a massive legend. Probably the best Yasuo player I've ever seen. Project Yasuo, by the way, has been on the front page of Twitch twice. By the way, is followed by the Newell on Twitter. It is the man, the myth, the legendary caster, Ollie Shouts.
You did me a solid there with that introduction, so I'm going to do you a solid. Remember, if you got Twitch Prime, drop us a subscription.
It's like he's a professional or something. Also joining us, you might not be able to hear her because of all the tears in her eyes from Meteos getting absolutely hammered and bodied by ex-Smithy on was it Sunday, Saturday? I can't even remember. But how are you doing, Joe? On a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you cry every time you looked at Meteos on your phone background screen?
About every single time. I cry every time.
Every time, and you can hear some giggling in the background, and that is, of course, the Salford resident mid laner, the Team Liquid fanatic, one might say. How you doing, Joe? How are you feeling?
Wearing my Liquid shirt right now.
Yeah, very nice.
Feels pretty good, not gonna lie. Wanted to swear, but remembered I gotta keep it in check.
Yeah, you gotta.
But it feels pretty good. Over the moon. Cried as well. First time crying at esports, felt good.
Feels good, man. Right. So moving on, we've got a action. I say action-packed. It's a podcast. We've got a very chocked full show for you guys. Let's move it on to this screen. We'll get to MSI in a bit. First on our list of things to do is talk about LCK. We touched on that last week. We made some predictions, and all of us were wrong. Like, no one got it right, purely because everyone said, alright, shut up, no, you weren't here, okay? Right?
No you.
No you, yeah, exactly. We all said KT would win against Africa Freaks, but instead, Africa Freaks dumpstered KT 3-1.
Did we give specific score lines?
I think we said like 3-1 or 3-2 KT. Something like that. Something
you
along those
predicted
lines.
KT to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I predicted because all you guys said Kingzone.
Good
So
job on that one.
all right, look, all you guys said Kingzone. All right, so like you guys still aren't technically correct either. So you gotta wait for that.
Well, it wasn't on stream, but I did say it. I said 3-1 Freaka Freaks. You know, with their the players which they do have on their team, of which I know. You know, it was bound to happen, wasn't it?
Okay, can you name at least 3 of the players from Africa?
Can you name
He's
one?
just getting to the webpage.
You?
Yeah, I
No,
can.
Okay, go on.
Alright. I'm gonna say Spirit.
Yeah, I know him. Jungler. Yeah.
Yeah. Jungler. I'm gonna say this is actually a test of knowledge. Right. Wait, I just need to. Right, I'm gonna say Prey. No. No. You can see how much attention I place on LCK. You can Spirit. It's not Mara in the top laner. Is it Kuro in the mid lane? No. Yeah, it is Kuro. Alright, there you go. I named 2. Go on, can you name any more? I've just looked at the roster
Mowgli.
now. I can't. I wouldn't be able to name any of this.
Is it
Well,
Mowgli?
I was going to talk about that actually. Interesting.
Maybe
'cause
maybe
Spiro-
Kramer? I'm thinking top laner
Maybe-
might be Keen?
Looking at their roster, I see.
No, I'm not. Nah. Nah.
Nah, I wouldn't do that.
I just have really vast knowledge of players.
Okay. Well, moving on now. So one of the reasons we said that KT would win was because KT dumpstered SKT, but then Africa came out of nowhere and dumpstered KT. So that leaves the question of, seeming everyone predicted KT would get through at least to fight Kingzone. Can Africa beat Kingzone? That's the question. If KT's better than SKT, Africa's better than KT. Africa. I can't. It's alright. Shut up. Africa. Can Africa beat Kingzone?
You said
No.
KT was supposed to beat Africa because they dumpstered SKT,
SKT.
but SKT weren't looking good.
SKT weren't looking good, but
So
they
why would
beat.
them be
But
dumpstered by
it's because KSV looked pretty decent, and SKT looked in pretty sorry shape, but they showed like a better performance near the end of the split.
To
So
be honest, Kingzone's gonna trash them. It's easily Kingzone winning it.
easily Kingzone.
Easily.
Why is that?
Just look at the roster and then tell me they don't deserve first.
Look at
They've
the.
also obliterated
Alright.
the entire league.
Okay. Also, you can say look at the roster. Look at the roster for KT.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
they're
KT have
They're
choked.
known
Yeah,
by-
no, but yeah, you can easily say that now that KT's already out. But
While
like,
Kingzone have never choked in LCK.
because Kingzone's never been in LCK.
I mean, that team bar
That roster
Peanut
has.
beat SKT in the final in summer.
Wasn't it like a swift 3-0 or 3-1?
Yeah, it was as well. It wasn't even close.
All right, we'll see. I
They're
mean,
even better now as well.
I'm not saying it, but like, there's been a lot of times where teams have been like, this team's gonna go well, and then it's gone in the reverse
TSM.
direction. No one thought TSM was good. So, also, like on the international, like not, I'm saying this on the international stage, but on the high pressure moments, Peanut can not play that well. Like, he has shown a bit of inconsistencies.
I mean, he won MSI.
He won at MSI, but he also he was in the SKT roster last year, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
jungle was definitely a weak point for them.
But that was
I
more
mean-
they weren't utilising him properly.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
but
they wanted a supportive jungler. and that's
yeah,
not what Peanut
but
is.
then like in that team, like so many factors went wrong. The only player who, like, there was 2 players who played consistently well, which is Hooney and then Faker, and Faker just played out of his mind
Well,
to try and
Worlds anyway. He
carry.
was terrible
yeah.
throughout the entire year, really.
But at Worlds he stepped up,
Yeah.
which I suppose is where it counts. I'm just saying, like, it's Peanut hasn't shown like a flawless play so far, like, so to say, and also you've got the whole idea of not having played, which means although you get to look at everyone else's strats, if another team's feeling good and they've had the games, they can go in it more confident. I don't know, it stuff to factor in. Sometimes you get these teams who sit at the top and then they get absolutely, like it's happened before. Oh, it happened to Liquid actually. In it was season 5, the Gauntlet run for the third place spot at Worlds, and that was when Cloud9 did their famous like double reverse sweeps in a
why
row.
are you surprising me of this? Not surprising me, reminding me of this.
Because
You're not.
because it's one of those things about the Gauntlet run is because you're not like a team who plays gets like you get more practice basically. You know, you can define your system and you get to practice on that stage. So
That is a valid point though, because it is a different patch from.
yeah, so it's something. It's
Well,
it's something to
was
think.
the-
I
was
think
there
I
really
still
that big of a
I,
patch
I
difference?
still think Kingzone will win. But I think Africa can take away maybe one game, but like you don't know Kingzone's mindset going into it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
They've got some very experienced players in there.
It's interesting to point
But-
out that they have both teams have double junglers, and Afrika used theirs a lot. Like in the series they played against KT, Spirit started the first game, and then Mowgli played the rest of the series. I think that will be coming. Well, they're definitely going to sub out jungle at some point
Who
in
lost
the final.
game 1?
Afrika did.
So is it just that Spirit is trash, and then they just use their other jungler?
I think
But-
it's that Spirit is a more carry-oriented jungler.
But that happens quite. That happens in. We had this conversation last time. Was the first game of a best of 5 is also kind of the most irrelevant one. Because I mean, like, look at that KT SKT game. SKT came in and won that pretty convincingly against KT, but because there's so much left in it, like that sort of, unless you're kind of weak-minded, like a certain 100 Thieves,
Got him.
most like better teams with a better mindset can lose the first game comfortably because they still know they just need to win 3 out of the 4 next games to win it. Like,
And they can figure out the system.
they can work things out.
Yeah,
They can
team.
test things. So
Yeah. I think that's what they did with Spirit. I think they played a carry-oriented jungle.
just to see if it
It
would
didn't
work.
work, and they decided, no, we need more supportive.
Um,
But I think going up against Kingzone, they're gonna need Spirit to be on a carry.
That's one of the matchups I'm excited to see is Peanut versus Spirit. It's been a long time since Spirit has been on a consistently good team, and one as strong as this one. So
The mid lane matchup is interesting.
yeah, Kuro versus BDD.
Former Rocks player with Prey and Gorilla and Peanut. Be interesting to see how he matches up against BDD.
Anyway, I'll go on, Ollie.
BDD's a beast.
He is.
He's so good. I know Kuro's decent, but I think he was always sort of seen as the weakness back when he was on. Was it Rocks?
Yeah,
he was just like a steady, consistent, good player. Nothing special.
But when you're in the same region as Faker, you have to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why BDD is just so impressive because he can. He has performed against Faker as far as I'm aware.
Well, beat SKT in the final
Exactly. So.
summer.
so
juicy.
He's a very talented, very young player, and he's had a year of experience now.
on that point, what are your predictions for the final? Who's gonna win? Swifty, you first, then Joe, then Ollie.
I think it's going to be a 3-1 to Kingzone. I think I don't think Afrika will win the first game. I think they'll win the second or third game. And then Kingzone will win the rest after that.
Who do you think is going to start, Spirit or Mowgli?
I think they start Spirit.
They'll start Spirit, right. And Ollie, what's your prediction for this this event?
3-0 Kingzone. Khan's a monster. BDD's a monster. The bot lane's just destructive. That you don't beat Kingzone. Easy 3-0.
Easy 3-0. You heard it here first. Dockers, what's your
I'm
prediction?
The same as Ollie. I think it's going to be 3-0.
3-0. Is that going with the theme of,
Yep.
a certain team getting
Stop.
3-0'd?
Damn.
This is what you get when you root for G2 when Fnatic's playing.
Got him.
So
Huh?
yeah, I saw what you're saying. So easy 3-0. So 2 3-0s and 3-1. I'm like Joe on this one. I think Africa can maybe take a game off. Africa. I swear that's what I'm saying.
It's Afrika.
Africa.
It's like a streaming site
It's
in
free.
Korea.
Like they'll be in the finals.
Africa.
Free.
Africa. Africa freaks. Africa Freaks, I think, will take at least one game off. Now, what else is on our list for LCK? Was there anything else?
I don't think there was.
Let's have a look. I don't think there was. So we've covered that. So 3-0 is the main sort of thing. So let's. Oh, cheers for changing the link to your mum. Right, sweet. Let's roll on to the strongest region, the European LCS, of course. We had some predictions going in.
We all predicted Fnatic.
We all predicted Fnatic. I think I predicted 3-0, maybe 3-1.
I can't remember what I said.
Yeah,
I think it's all a similar thing. Someone said 3-2.
It might have been me.
I think it was you, but that's because you were like, "Oh,
I was
G2,
just wrong.
G2, so good, blah blah blah," which is why 100 Thieves lost.
I think she was bagging on G2 actually having macro.
Yeah, I was. I was hoping that they'd actually, bring their
The entire story of that series was just G2 gets early game lead. Oh, it's 20 minutes into the game. Oh, G2 don't understand macro. Oh, they just roll over and die.
Oh, G2 just rushed Baron and through.
It's so weird how a team can get to the finals of a region and have that little understanding of what to do at
Yeah.
that like crucial point in the game.
But to be honest, it happened with 100 Thieves as well.
Yeah,
Not in the macro gameplay, but it's like on an individual level, they just fell apart.
which
like-
is sort of a spoiler for how MSI is gonna go, but obviously that's later on, so we'll talk about that then.
I think Fnatic's like early game isn't that good, but they were saying after the series that they weren't focusing on early game, they were focusing on late game macro.
Which I
So
think,
they were
They
I
thought
think
it
they were
was
fine in game of getting behind.
but you see, like, I mean, stronger teams. It's definitely stronger teams than Fnatic. I was thinking about this. The way, like, take SKT at their peak. Even if you got an early game lead, they just kept on playing their win condition until either you messed up or they just out team fired you. Like, they gave you a one of two situation. Either they would play the rest of the game perfectly and wait for you to make a mistake and then capitalize, or they would force a team fight and just beat you based on like individual team play there. And I think Fnatic's not that strong, but their team fighting is phenomenally good. So they yeah, but it's the team playing round Reckless. There's that play where Reckless just dives mid turret. I can't remember if it is. I think it's like Spring's play like week 8. He dives under with Zyro. Like he engages with Zyro, like under turret, and he just says, "I'm going in." Like you hear the voice guns, and the whole team just rushes and does everything perfectly, and he gets out alive and gets a triple kill. Like it's
Lipo played like a monster in team fights on Sion.
yeah, Bwipo. I mean, we'll get on to Bwipo in a bit, but like this is the main thing I want to cover is why Fnatic won and why are they so far ahead of the rest of Europe? Because
Caps was a monster as well.
Yeah.
is it just they have better players, or like
Yep,
what's the
yeah.
deciding factor?
They have top 3 players in every position.
And they play
most-
better
most-
as a team than anyone
yeah.
else.
I think they have the advantage of being together longer than a lot of the other squads as well. A huge amount, almost. I think it's every single team had more than 2 players changed. Like,
Yeah.
apart from Fnatic, who just had the support change. Because I mean that was Fnatic playing with a sub as well, like,
Yeah.
and they did it that easily. So imagine if they had the preparation with Bwipo, not with Bwipo, with Soaz. If Soaz's arm wasn't broken, I don't know.
I'm not a massive fan of Soaz. I never have been. He's never
He's-
impressed me.
He just tends to like go up a notch on playoffs and worlds.
Yeah.
It's how he's always played. Like he said like so many times in the past, he just doesn't give he just doesn't. I was gonna say a certain word there.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't
Doesn't
give a
care.
damn in the regular split. He just doesn't train at all. And then when playoffs hit, he just puts his all in. And it always pays off.
He's a high pressure player. He can play in those high pressure matches. But speaking of Soaz, his replacement or substitute, Bwipo, he already said he was a monster in that. What do you think is his potential? Like, do you think he's shown enough skill that he'll be picked up by another team? Do you think Fnatic will roll him in as a substitute top lane, because Soaz is the primary starter and will be the primary starter. What do you guys think will happen in that regards?
The Fnatic's plan was to use Bwipo as a carry top laner. Like, that's what he does. He plays carries. But of course, he had to come in and he had to play Sion for the entire series. But I think that what they're going to plan on doing is just have Soaz play everything else, and then just leave the carries for Bwipo. And I think they're just going to rotate the two. And I think Soaz is fine with that as well.
The Cloud9 style of top lane.
Yeah, exactly.
What were you gonna say, Duckers?
I was gonna say I think they're just gonna go with the 6-man roster and keep him on, and train him up. And use
He's
him.
also you want him there for experience as well. Like he can help Bwipo get better.
Yeah, if he went to another team, like Bwipo that is, it'd be done. Like, you're on
Bwipo.
Fnatic. Yeah, you've won.
Bwipo.
You're there.
Bwipo.
Whatever it is.
Let's. This is the closing question I wanted to ask in regards to this this roster and this team. What's their relative strength in comparison to previous first place EU teams? So to last year's G2 at MSI. Like, what's their strength level in comparison to them? I mean, the game's changed a lot in just a year, but in regards, we could probably go back as far, I'd say, back to like season 6, maybe season 5. What do you guys think that they rank, or is it too early to tell until we see them on internet? Because this is the first time that, in quite a while, that a team has been this far ahead, I'd say. Maybe G2 last year.
I don't think since.
But they seem so far ahead in comparison.
Since Huni Fnatic.
Yeah, I was gonna say not since that
This
summer.
I
Not since that summer.
I don't think this Fnatic is as good as previous iterations and the previous best teams from Europe. I just think the rest of Europe just dropped a tier this split.
I think the
Which is
roster.
why it was
I think the
such a
roster
mess.
changes did that. To be honest.
But
Yeah.
to be fair, they did say that has been said about Europe for the last 3 seasons.
I think this split has been literally very similar to season 5 spring.
It does feel
Like,
the same.
every single roster had heavy changes. You had a heavy favourite team coming in. In this case, it was Fnatic, and they actually did well and they won it. But I think all the other teams are going to pick it up in summer. That's what I expect to happen.
Yeah.
I expect Misfits to be a lot stronger.
I don't think this Fnatic is as strong as like OG or maybe G2 at their peak. Definitely not Fnatic at their peak in previous seasons. They're still good.
But
I
the
just don't
thing
think
is,
it's that
I
impressive.
think it's a very different Fnatic compared to
Yeah,
season
absolutely.
5. Season 5 Fnatic, that was when the top lane was hugely important. That's why Worlds was so exciting. You
That
had
was also
had
when
Smeb
we
and Marin
well, I
and
don't know why I'm saying we, but EU made the meta that year, and that's
Yeah.
why. That's one of the reasons why EU did so well. At
Yeah.
Worlds.
but this time, it's feels a lot more bot lane centric, and Reckless is, I think, playing the best he's ever played in his career. He looks
Yeah.
he had a 31.5 KDA in playoffs. He had,
I think he died like 14 times the entire split.
which is he's putting out. He was first in almost, I think, every single stat which they have for AD carries. Like he's playing on another level, and the thing is, it's not like the rest of his team is holding him down. It's not like season 5 where the bot lane, because Yellowstar was weaker, the bot lane just went even. This is a bot lane which can make things happen, on top of having a Forbidden style mid laner who can carry, like Caps,
Yeah.
and on top
I
of having a very consistent top laner. Like, arguably, I'd say this roster has the potential to be stronger because they're hugely more adaptable.
Their potential is so much higher as well.
So,
Like, Caps is 18. Like, Bwipo's pretty young as well. It's his first split.
I mean,
Rox has only been around for a year and is only going to get better.
if you like remember how strong Caps is in comparison to last season, that's one season he went from sort of mid tier to high tier mid laner to being the best mid laner in Europe. Like, and if Fnatic carries on this trend and this improvement, they look insane. To be fair though, until they like Season 5 Fnatic, actually, because that's where Season 5 Fnatic proved themselves was at MSI. Because before then, everyone was like, Europe's done. Europe is awful. They're going to crash and burn, which was Locodoko's exact words. Was they're going to crash and burn. No one actually thought that Fnatic roster was good at Spring Split. The difference is this year is this roster looks really good at the end. Like better than Season 5 Fnatic looked at the end of Spring Split.
Anyway.
In spring anyway. So I think in MSI we'll see how they do, and if they can carry on that form into summer, they could well be probably one of the best Western teams. Because if Season 5 Fnatic was the best Western team we've had since like Season 2, then this could be the best Western team we've ever had, so to say. But I don't know. That's my feelings. I'm very biased.
Yeah.
I mean, insanely biased. But I don't know.
Ollie, how do you think they're going to do at MSI?
Oh, wait, we'll get on to MSI in a bit. I want to talk about MSI in a bit. But speaking of another team which looks so far ahead of everyone else, but with a fairly late sprint, it's like if you think of the NALCS spring split as like a 100-meter dash, like including playoffs and the regular season, right? They sort of fumbled and tripped at the beginning, right? And then they started to pick it up, like I'd say like a third of the way through. If the first third is the first half, second third is the second half, and then the final third is the playoffs. And then when they hit playoffs, when they hit 2/3 of the way through 100-meter sprint, they just went. It's like they teleported to the end of the race because they looked so strong in comparison to everyone else. Doublelift actually said, I just watched an interview with Travis Gafford with Doublelift. They talked about, like his fans with the recent stuff which has happened. But they commented on how the series felt like a stomp. Like, how was it? And they said they really respect 100 Thieves because they knew they're a really good team. But they could just see how tilted they got after that Baron steal. So I want to say over to you guys. Like with previous predictions, I think all of us, apart from Dockers, who said 100 Thieves would win 3-1, everyone else said Liquid would win 3-0 or 3-1. What are your guys' takes on how the final went? Dockers, you first, if you can get past the tears.
I can't. I'm still crying a bit. I mean, it was obviously a stomp, and I don't know. I think they were way too tilted after game 1, but that was really all on them, anyway, because Smite fight shouldn't really happen anyway, but yeah. And then the tilt from that carried on to the other 2 games after that.
What about you, Ollie Shout's famous caster, front page of Twitch twice? How do you feel being a TSM fan? Going through a similar emotions as Dockers has.
What impressed me about 100 Thieves during this split was how they were winning, as opposed to the fact that they were being good. Like I don't think they should have come first place in the split. Like I get they did it and they deserved it.
The top of NA was really close, to be fair.
Yeah, like looking at 100 Thieves, I love the personalities, I love nature, all that shit, but I just don't think it's a finals-worthy team. So like them getting destroyed was completely expected for me. Liquid, you remember when like all of the roster changes were sort of announced before the split started, and everyone went, "It's TSM or Liquid that wins it." Well, it's obvious. Like Team Liquid, you look at their roster and you know they should come in first, and they did. So
yeah, the thing is, what I was thinking after the finals was, let's say Liquid got 3-0'd by 100 Thieves, right? I'd look at Liquid's roster and go, I don't really see who you can change off that team to make that team work. Yeah, you'd say either it's a choke or that team's just not working. They need to disband and just build it up from the ground. Maybe
But you got
maybe.
3 members of that CLG squad that
Yeah.
finally won NA.
Yeah, no, that's
Such a good core.
that's not my point though. Like, it's like say you just like kept, I don't know, like you kept Pobelter, you kept Double Lift, and yeah, say you kept X-Smithy and changed it around. Like, if they'd lost, you'd go, right, either the team's not the team's just isn't working and is not gonna work, or and then from that you need to go, right, just scrap that team. We'll maybe keep a couple players and rebuild. If you look at 100 Thieves, they lost, and you go, I don't think that team will ever be able to reach Team Liquid's height. I just look at that.
Do you think it's like UoL when they got to the final?
Yeah, I look at that roster and go, well, there's definitely better mid laners than Ryu. There's definitely the only lane I say which is like competent, and I actually wouldn't swap is Cody Sun and Afurumu. I think that's a really Cody Sun is.
They have Sunday.
And Sunday's like insane. Like the mid and jungle is just. There's so many better options for that. Sorry, Dockers, because I know you fangirl about Meteos, but I do think I think he's a he's a solid player, but I think even on Cloud even on Cloud9, like he was not the linchpin in that team succeeding. Like he wasn't. So
what, in their first split he was.
In the first bit, but he had a very unique.
When he revolutionized carry jungle.
Yeah, he had a very unique jungling. Same way, like Diamond Prox was one of the best.
I was actually surprised that Meteos came back again after his hiatus.
Yeah.
Like he played on Phoenix 1 for a little bit, and they did well for a little while, and then they got benched. I'm surprised he came back and started playing again. To be honest, I thought he would have just gone straight to streaming.
So. If you look at their academy team, I'm pretty sure it's 100 Thieves that has Levi.
Yeah.
I'm fully expecting at some point in time, Meteos and Ryu get replaced with Levi and a native mid laner, probably like Demonte or something like that. I think the team would grow if that was to happen.
I agree. And I think that's why Meteos is on the team actually, for experience for Levi.
Yeah.
Pretty
He's
much.
a placeholder.
Yeah, he pretty much is. Yeah, he is. I mean, Levi came late, didn't he? He didn't play the first couple of weeks of academy.
No, he didn't. I think he had visa issues.
Yeah.
Here's what I'd say about 100 Thieves. If they were to win, and they were the North American team representing at MSI, regardless of what fashion they won in, whether it was a 3-0 or not, would you feel confident about NA's chances? Because I wouldn't.
No, they wouldn't make it out of groups.
No. So...
I think Ryu and Meteos would get exposed.
I think I feel like those two have passed. Ryu, I definitely has passed his prime.
Ryu's still got a place on a mid table team.
Yes.
Like he could still play and put up good results, but he reminds me a bit of Nuke Duck, someone who was really good at one point, but now he's just consistent. Like he's not like Caps.
Yeah.
He's not going to smash you in lane. He might have the odd good game where he plays kind of well, but he's not going to be like for Bivin. For me, it was almost like that until this playoffs.
Yeah, he's revived it.
Like for Bivin went from being like Ryu, having this amazing series with Fnatic, and then falling off and just being average, and then this playoff series he played out of his mind. He played like season 5 for Bivin.
Not in the third place game though.
Not in the third place game, but to be honest, I'd be tilted by that point.
He got absolutely destroyed.
To
Along
be
with his
fair,
entire
Echo
team.
Fox somehow pulled themselves back together and just stomped.
I also think
Well, that entire series was an angry win. Echo Fox were angry as hell.
I also think
They just took it out on CG.
the Team Liquid Echo Fox series. I think Echo Fox kind of sandbagged it a bit. Like I don't think they were playing as well as they could have played, like at all. Not taking that away from Team Liquid, I still think Team Liquid would have won. Team Liquid just looked really strong.
It would have been closer.
But I think Echo Fox at least probably could have taken another game. I still think Team Liquid would have won in the end, but it would have been closer, definitely. And I kind of want to bring it on to this next point, how we're talking about relative strengths and like international strengths of team. Team Liquid how far ahead are they compared to the rest of NA? Because it's fairly recently that they've shown
They're
this
really
form.
far ahead, in my opinion.
Is this just like a playoffs buff though?
Like, no,
Like-
because it's just Liquid are amazing in best of series, and they
Yeah,
said they
yeah.
were the entire split.
They work best outside of best of ones. Like,
I know that it's very contradictory and it's very biased, but I think Team Liquid and TSM are probably just far ahead of the rest.
Why
Obviously,
why
they
T-
didn't show any
why
players.
why TSM?
Because if you listen to any of the players, not even the ones on TSM, talking about scrims, talking about the lead-ups to that, even ask Doublelift, they're all shocked that they lost, and they're like, no, this is clearly one of the better teams, that shouldn't have happened. So, I don't know what happened during that quarterfinal match, but that did not show the strength of TSM at all.
It was
When
just a
you're getting the
joke.
respect of Liquid, then clearly you're pretty strong.
But that's happened before, where teams have been dumpstered in scrims, and then they've gone onto stage and played amazingly.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I mean, Echo Fox apparently in scrims basically like 20-minute win all the time.
so
Some teams play different in scrims to on stage though, and I think like the history of TSM, they tend to perform similar, other than at international tournaments, which this isn't. Rest in peace. Fuck.
I think it'll be interesting to see what their form is going into summer. I mean, it's one of those ones where you can't really say. You can say a team is good or bad at this point, but you have no idea. It's impossible to say if any team's going to make it to Worlds at this point. Like,
I think
we've
Liquid are
s-
pretty much. I think
King's Eye.
this goes for Fnatic as well.
I
Liquid
think
and
those
Fnatic
those
have
two
kind of put in their big foot into the world's door.
those two look really strong. But we've had it before where like was it who won? Like I can't remember what happened. Like was it CLG who played really well in spring and then just went terribly downhill in summer?
Yeah, they went to MSI and made it to the finals.
And then
They-
just went downhill. So
I
I don't think Team Liquid is going to do that, but I think I think it's for the rest of the teams apart from Fnatic and Team Liquid, we have no idea. It's so hard to call. I think you could have another team who just gets on really good form going into summer split. But before we get into that far ahead, I want to talk about Team Liquid versus Fnatic. Who would win in a best of 5 and why? Dockers, you first.
I want to say Fnatic, but only 'cause deep down I want them to win.
Alright, that's good enough reason. Next. No, I'm kidding. Carry on.
Probably because I think they've got a better top laner, and I think that they can just play through bot as well, and they'll either go even or win through bot.
What about you, Ollie?
I think Team Liquid, because the strength of Fnatic is reckless, and if anyone's going to keep him in check in the West, Doublelift is one of those people. So I think Liquid might be able to like hold down the bot lane. You were mentioning that Fnatic lost like most of their early games. Well, how quickly did Liquid win their games? I think they have what it takes to beat Fnatic, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's close and if Fnatic do win.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think Liquid. I think mainly because of the point Ollie said about Doublelift and Ole being able to neutralize bot. I also think Xmithy is gonna basically outclass and run amok of Broxer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think in general and like Pabelta can neutralize mid lane really well.
I do think that's the
I think
that's
experience
the-
is also a big thing.
that's the area where Fnatic is weakest. I feel is the jungle role. At least from this playoffs, Brox has shown to be really good, but not this
Yeah.
playoffs. He didn't really do much. Wait, we're on NA. I haven't changed
Like
this.
you've
actually,
got
though, okay.
you've got Xmithy who got second place at MSI. You've got all of the players who've gone to Worlds before. Impact's gotten quarterfinals twice.
Yeah.
I just think the experience is also going to play a massive factor
Think of
into
the
it.
top lane matchup as well. Like, how does Impact lose if he's not against Soaz? Even if he's against Soaz.
Also,
then, yeah.
the other thing though is is you're saying about experience. What about experience as a team, and as playing as a team?
But
On that front, Fnatic's has got the advantage there for sure.
But the synergy looks
Technically
better
not.
on Liquid.
Because they're all CLG and Immortals players.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's that and the fact that looking at their wins, they just look more on a page than Fnatic do. Like, I feel like Fnatic have amazing teamfight synergy. That's it.
but if
Whereas Liquid basically have synergy throughout the entire game.
But if like you're saying, Fnatic gave up early game leads, and that would cause an issue there to play against Team Liquid. But as they said afterwards, that was not their win conditions. They weren't focused on that. They knew they could win later into the game. Would they not look at Team Liquid and go, well, this is a team which can match us in team fights. We have to use a different or pay more attention to early game. So I feel like I think it can go either way.
But
I
then
think
it's down to Smithy and Brox at early game.
it's
Which one of those are you gonna pick?
I don't think we've seen what Brox can do yet. I think. I mean, Xmithy is a very good jungler. Like, don't get me wrong, but then I don't know the like the. No, it's not biased. Like, I think it'll be super close. The annoying thing about MSI is if they're gonna play against each other, it's probably gonna be a best of one, and we're not gonna see them in a best of 3 or best of 5 until Rift Rivals, which sucks. I think in a best of 5, I reckon Team Liquid would have it. In a best of 1, I think it could go. That's the thing. So, like, in a best of 5, actually, I think Fnatic might have it. But in a best of 1, I think Team Liquid will have it, because I don't think Fnatic would be able to adapt enough in the game. I think Team Liquid could adapt in a game quite comfortably, even if they're behind. But I don't think Fnatic would be able to do that. But I think if they did play in a best of 3 or best of 5, I think by that point it comes down to the coaches and the management staff about who can help their team adapt the best within it. And Team Liquid does have a lot more funding behind that.
The Alienware yeah, just been opened as well.
So it'll be super interesting to see. I think I can't wait for MSI. I think the West is quite a strong foot in the door, I think.
I'm scared about IG. I'm really scared about IG. If you haven't watched any of their games yet, it's quite scary. They've literally roll stomped the entire LPL, in ridiculous fashion. I'm personally, until I see one of the Western teams play IG, I'm pretty scared because I think IG can win MSI.
Is this Invictus Gaming?
Yeah.
What's Invictus
really
Gaming's
carry,
wrong? Oh, it's Duke, isn't it? Oh, they have Rookie as well.
Yeah. It's quite scary. And like I said, they've just they've literally just picked up every single team and thrown them around. So
Yeah, they dropped one match.
Yeah.
Well, one series. Which is pretty crazy.
It's pretty impressive.
I'm trying to find a thing for
What is
playoffs.
it?
Are they currently in playoffs? They are in playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're slightly so. Oh, they get a bye into the semi-finals, right? That's how. Wait, let me move this over to the main screen so people can see. So. Oh, it can. Wait, it's that one, isn't it? There we go. So yeah, I don't know enough about LPL to comment on that. But Chinese teams haven't looked amazing at international tournaments. Apart from RNG, really. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
At least they don't have the home field advantage where they get dumpstered in playoffs at MSI. I remember that happening and the whole crowd was silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't. That was pretty entertaining. One of the things I want to talk about is Koreans. This is one of the first in 5 seasons since SKT will not be at the mid-season invitational all-star, like the all-star mid-season event. how much of difference will that make? Because SKT has the experience, huge amount of experience, which meant at international tournaments they were always very, very, very strong. What will happen with a new Korean team going with a new infrastructure, and will they be able to adapt to that pressure at that higher level?
I think so, because of the team that is going.
Well,
How
might be
experienced
going.
they are.
But all right, I'll bring this up. GE Tigers, like way back in the time before they came Ku and then Rocks Tigers. GE Tigers played at IEM.
That was their first international.
It was their first international tournament, but they were playing against a 12 seed Chinese team, and got absolutely dumpstered. So,
Was that the tournament that TSM won? Yeah, it was.
oh, was it?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah, it was.
TSM managed to win it.
By beating World Elite, it was very difficult, I swear.
I mean, if TSM managed to beat the team you lost against, like,
Okay, here's what I would say. SKT not going to this tournament should be scary for the rest of the world, because it wasn't that they got beaten in the finals. It was like the quarters. It wasn't even the finals.
but
so
is
that,
that just because
I
SKT's
agree.
nowhere near as strong as they have
They
been?
still
No,
have
it's because
Faker
Korea
and
stepped
Bang.
up.
Okay,
To
so
me, it's that Korea has just gone stronger.
it did
more
it
so than SKT. got
so
beaten.
so did the opposite to what NA and EU did, where we just put forward one good team each. Korea went right. Our best team, we'll make them worse, and we'll make everyone else way better.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So basically, my next question of is the gap closing? That meme, that old chestnut. What's your thoughts on that and why?
We can't say until MSI. Personally,
It's really hard to say until we've
if
seen
if
all
the
the
West gets
international stage.
dumpstered at MSI, then it was just Liquid and Fnatic winning were literally just because both regions went weak.
What about you, Ollie? What's
That's
your
why they were
thoughts?
dominant.
So, the Western regions have had some of the closest and most exciting splits we've ever seen, but that usually is an indicator of the teams being worse.
Not for
because-
season 5 Fnatic though in spring. That's what people said about EU then.
But Fnatic were just like far and away better than the rest of them. Whilst, what was it? It was one game apart for like the North American playoffs with the teams.
Well, Fnatic
I
didn't even
think-
finish first in spring split. SK
Oh,
did.
they not?
SK Gaming
oh, yeah,
did.
that was when they had Forgiven, right?
Yeah, and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
choked in playoffs, and then that's when they had the 3-2 bloodbath with Unicorns of Love, and everyone was like, "Oh, EU, what a joke! They're just a clown fiesta," and all those memes.
I don't know. Korea just looks so scary. I think the gap is closing between China and Korea, but not from.
I
the
think
West.
if
I
there's-
think that might be the case.
I think if there's any possible way that Korea loses, it will either be to China in the finals, like with EDG, against SKT, or it will be them going out in group stage. I don't see another way that they can lose and go out apart from those two cases, either in the finals against a better team or getting fluked out by best of ones. But I still think the best of ones is by far the least likely scenario out of those two, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that leads us on to the last question. We've already spoken how strong Fnatic and Team Liquid is on, but to close this podcast out, how well will the West do at MSI? Dockers, you first.
I think they'll do pretty well. They did pretty well last year at MSI. I'm kind of hoping that like this year it'll be the same, where at least one of the Western regions will be in the finals. Whether they win or not, I guess we'll wait and see.
Do you think either Fnatic or Team Liquid can make it out of groups?
Yeah.
Those
I
watching
think
in,
at least one of them can.
which one? Go on. If you had to put your money on, which one would it be?
Fnatic.
All right, Fnatic. Twitch chat. I just see Josh is there. Give your predictions as well. Which team? All right, that'll be the question. Which team is more likely to make it out of groups?
How does the group stage
Fnatic
work? Is
or
it
Liquid.
16 then?
Josh said Liquid.
Is it 6 or 8 teams this time?
There's the play-in.
There's the play-in
Yeah.
stage as well. I'm not sure.
So I think
Wait,
it
let's
is
have a look at
6
this website.
teams. Top 4 go through.
Yeah, last year it was 6 teams in top 4, but now they've got like another. What is it? Vietnam's become its own
They should
region.
have SOAS by then.
If it's 8 teams, I think absolutely both of them get through. If it's 6 teams, I think one of them may go through, but hopefully both. And I don't know. I'll give it to Fnatic. I feel like Reckless could shit on the wild cards or some shit. I don't know.
The teams currently through. Diamond Prox is going to be there, by the way, in the playing round.
Gambit, yeah.
He's on
so Edward
Gambit.
as well.
Kabim Esports. So there's playing round 1 seeds, playing round 2 seeds, and then there's 4 main event seeds. So I think it's still.
Okay, so yeah, 6 teams.
I think it's still 6 teams. Yeah.
Okay, so Taiwan is one of the 4 seeds?
No,
So
it's China, Europe, Korea, North America, and then Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan
Oh,
lost
okay.
theirs.
Depends. Wait, Gigabyte Marines lost
Mhm.
in Vietnam? What?
It was.
Yeah, they
3-2.
lost in the final.
I guess they did lose Levi. Yeah.
They lost Levi and their mid laner, I think. Optimus.
Optimus. That's understandable. Okay, in that case, if there's no Gigabyte Marines, then yeah, both the Western teams get through.
That's the prediction for Ollie. Now,
And then if they're on the same side of the bracket, then one of them's through to the finals as well. In the groups, like in the semis. Because then it would be China versus Korea on the other side of the bracket. So, which is what happened when CLG made it to the finals. It was like they got freeload there. SKT had to play all the hard teams, and CLG just had a blast.
yeah, so it can happen. And Swifty, what's your prediction? Which Western team is your main bet? I know the answer is going to be Liquid. And
It is Liquid.
why? And do you think both can get through?
I think both can get through, and I think one of them can get final, but it depends because I'm pretty sure that IG is gonna get through. I'm pretty sure Kingzone are gonna be going to MSI, and I'm pretty sure they'll get through to semis. So it might be NA EU semi-final.
Which will be pretty hype, especially
Wait,
being
there's
in Europe.
18 days until the Chinese final.
Because
Yep.
I think, I mean, come on, IG's gonna win it.
Yeah,
It's
but
a pretty big given.
Well,
I'm
no,
going out on a whim for both ones and saying that
Can
Kingzone
IG
and IG will make it to MSI. Like, the logic says that they will. I think IG might not do well in best of ones and might have to play Kingzone in the semi. So I think it'll be an EU NA semi-final, and to be honest, I don't know which one would win.
Josh made a good point, which is like meta changes by then, because it is a while. It's mid-May that it really kicks off. Well, it's start of May that the playing starts. So we could see we've seen it recently. We've seen quite big drastic meta changes with like the buffs and then simultaneously nerfs to Banner of Command and stuff like that. Even though it's still prevalent, it's nowhere near as strong as it was at the start. So, and then before that we had the 70-minute games, 80-minute games, which is lovely. Sure, the casters loved that. Am I right, Ollie?
yeah.
So I don't know. I think I might put an announcement out in stream announcements and ask, and we can
We should
review
do
it
a
in the next
poll, definitely.
podcast. Big patches like the banner one more frequently. So they're doing more bigger patches. So
Every month.
it's.
Every
I do think if it stays the same, then Team Liquid will be insanely strong going in, and I probably think definitely stronger than Fnatic. but with the meta changes, it's how quickly they can adapt, and that is a toss up in the air. You have no idea, really. Like either
Yeah.
team,
Right, yeah.
it could suit either team well. You know what I mean? Like, so we'll have to see. Anyway, on that, this has been a fairly short one, but there's not much to say until more teams qualify and we get MSI's just around the corner.
Has anyone been watching EU Masters?
Yeah, I was going to touch on that before we finish. Is EU Masters? Origin is back, baby. I am so hyped for this team. Like Forgiven, Froggen, Jesus, Insec, and Expect. I'm just hyped for Froggen and Forgiven. I mean, that's like.
It's only a temporary roster.
Is a temporary roster, but I know what Forgiven's like. I don't think Forgiven would play in a team if he didn't think there was some like chances of him winning something decent out of it. You know what I mean?
No, that like they'll win the competition straight up. It's going to be freelo, but it doesn't get them into LCS or anything like that. So
But
it's just-
hypothetically, they could buy an LCS spot for next year.
They've got the
Yeah.
financial backing now as well.
but they have a really bad fucking business history of like not paying players and stuff and shit like that.
Yeah,
You guys remember the fucking motivation team?
that was
country?
horrible.
Fucking garbage.
Expeke's mum being a manager.
Yeah, I don't actually think Origin should be accepted for the EULCS. If Immortals didn't get accepted for their
But-
bad business practices,
But Immortals
Origin
didn't.
should
Immortals didn't get denied because of bad business practices. They got denied that the way their financial income works wasn't a sustainable income, which is very like different to Origins was just like pure bad management. Now, like logically, and I mean, this is why I'd say I mean it's definitely worth keeping in mind, but. In my opinion, I would be insanely surprised if Origin had the same or anywhere close to a similar management structure as they had back then. I mean, if with the amount of like criticism they got and the amount of bad press they got, there is no way they kept that. Like that's just if they do, there's no way they deserve to even be close to LCS. But if they fix that, they've got financial investors in, and the fact that they're such a big brand. They're the third biggest Western team, like, brand-wise with followers. I think if they prove themselves with European Masters, and if Riot is happy, Riot looks into it, because, you know, Riot's strict about this stuff, and there's going to be a bunch of European football teams knocking on the door asking to come in.
What if they lose
What?
in the Masters? What
Then
if they-
I think they're done. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so
Yeah.
they do have to win it. But I think the idea of them, like, I think if they prove themselves and they can work and function as a team, like it's for Riot they can go, well, they've had bad business practices, but if they're working now and the economic management is there, then they've got an instant like fan favorite brand straight ready to go into franchising. You know what I mean? Like it's they're like sticking. It's like putting a second Fnatic in. You know, Fnatic's one of the fan favorites in Europe. It's like Origin was the second biggest team. They got more of a following than G2, and G2's won what 5 splits in a row. So something worth thinking about, I think, in that respect. I'm just hyped. If like I just want to see Forgiven. I'll be honest. That's all I want to see is Forgiven again. Like that guy is so good, and I don't know.
He is insane, and he is,
Yeah,
in my opinion, when it comes to mechanics-wise, he's the best Western player we've ever had. He just never backed it up with anything. So
His attitude is just garbage.
yeah,
yeah, I agree with that. I think his definitely his attitude's not great. But then again, I'd say a different example, maybe not to the same extent, but Doublelift has always been insanely talented. But it took him a while before he found a team and like he got the maturity with his attitude to start winning things. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And to be fair, when the last team Forgiven was on.
got semi-finals.
He-
I mean, they had a very easy path to it.
He did mature.
So
So yeah. And the only reason why he wasn't playing on that squad the next split was because he didn't want to play with Forbidden. Which is, that's not the worst thing.
yeah. What do you mean he won on CLG first? Yeah, after 6 years of huge roster from going from relegations, dude. Like, and one of the reasons they went to relegation was the team was going so badly because of his attitude.
Double Lift has been playing since season 1.
So, like, I mean,
along with
it's one of the whole reasons the whole Seraph side project didn't work out. Was his relationship with him and Double Lift was really not good. Because Double Lift has, like, he was talking about with Travis, is one of the reasons Team Liquid didn't work at the start of the split was everyone was, like, sort of stepping on eggshells around people. They didn't want to be the first one to go, like, dude, you should have done this. But he talked about positive confrontation of, like, saying, like, pointing out something which is wrong, but in a positive light so that they can build on it. So Double Lift's always had this confrontational attitude, but I think it's taken him quite a while until he's gotten to the point where he can voice his criticism in a way which isn't going to create a toxic environment, can actually benefit the team. And I think the evidence is there. Like, he's always been a phenomenally good player for like so many seasons. And when was it that CLG like finally managed to actually win the final? Like, how much? How many seasons did it take before CLG actually managed to win something?
Well, it was season 5.
Season 5.
Summer.
Madison Square Gardens. So
Oh yeah, it was Madison Square Garden, wasn't it?
It took him that many years. When
Hotshot crying on the stage,
where he was still one of the best ADCs in NA, and often called the best ADC
He
in
played
NA.
really well in that final.
So
He got a pentakill in the final.
So yeah, that's what I mean by that. Is like, it's like attitudes can change. Like maturity is something which does come with time. You get very good players, but whether they can, like Dardoch is a good example. Fantastic player, but because of his attitude, it's caused a lot of teams not to work very, not to actually be cohesive and work as a team. But then you get other teams with less good players, but the communication and the teamwork is there to make them better. E.g., 100 Thieves. I mean, you say that, but a lot of players have come out afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, the whole... Yeah, it was a protect the ADC comp, which is one of the issues with that. But like, there's many other reasons behind just the style they played. I mean, purely I mean, Seraph literally just got dumpstered in top lane, and he was this star Korean player. So, I don't know. That's a conversation for a different podcast, I think. Anyway, kind of a short one, but yeah. I don't know. It's
about an hour and a half.
Not done too badly. Thank you, Dardoch finally respected aggressive lane. Yeah. I think a lot of these sort of very good players like Dardoch and Forgiven and Doublelift, until they're with players which are as good at them in their respective roles, they find it kind of hard, like learning to respect other players. Kind of when they see someone who's like really good, it's like, oh, dude, this guy's amazing. You know what I mean? When you've got a player who's obviously doing things wrong, those players are like, oh, you should be doing this better or whatever. Forgiven was known for that.
Age is a factor, though.
Age is definitely a factor. Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Forgiven's the oldest of all of them. Like, he's already fully grown. Whereas Dardoch's still sort of maturing. So he can actually, like, he has an easier way to change his ways. Because he's still becoming an adult, but, like,
Yeah.
Forgiven's an adult, you know? So I don't really know.
I think Dardoch has a pretty good management team around him now to help him. Like he's got Rick Fox like helping him out. Like You don't get people like that every day to help you out.
Yeah.
So I think Gardock now, we're going to see him a lot better. And I don't think he's going to be leaving Echo Fox anytime soon.
And final thing is, I'm super hyped for Rift Rivals. That's gonna be awesome. Seeing two
Yeah.
two very good teams and then 4 not so very good teams fighting it out should be really good.
Such a terrible, like, tournament if you think about it though. The teams qualify way before the event, so they might not even be good. You know, like we saw Phoenix won last year. They shouldn't have performed. Like they should have just gone 0-3 or whatever. And then it's not impressive either because it's just in the NALCS studio. So like, yeah, it's kind of cool in principle to see Europe versus North America, but it just wastes time for the players. Like it takes a break in the middle of the split. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest.
To be honest, I think if they did it before MSI as like a warm up event, but then it's done globally, so it's not just NA versus EU. But I think it's kind of, in my opinion, I think it's kind of cool because you used to have Battle of the Pacific, and which was a pretty decent
Battle of the
tournament.
Atlantic.
Battle of the Atlantic, that was it. Sorry,
That was only a one-time thing, though.
And it'd be kind of cool if they put more on the line, I think, like to represent the region. So, say like because NA won it last time, didn't they? So NA should host it, and then if EU wins it, then EU should host it, sort of thing. I don't know, something to think about. But I'm still excited to see it, just because that means, you know, like whatever happens at MSI, whoever wins between Fnatic and Team Liquid, there's going to be a grudge match then, isn't there? So either team can get revenge on whoever wins there. But other than that, do you guys have any other comments? Any other things you want to talk about? Express? Observations?
Can I do an advertisement?
Go on, you can do an advertisement.
14th and 15th, so this weekend. Check out twitch.tv/Kill Esports. We're doing our varsity against Staffordshire. Bunch of games: League, CS, Overwatch, Rocket League, Rainbow Six Siege, some fighting games, Hearthstone, and we're gonna crush them. But it should be fun. It's sort of like the first, I guess, professional event that we're hosting. So hopefully it doesn't fuck up. And that should be fun, so yeah, check it.
Awesome. Check it out. Sponsor. Also, shout out to Twitch Prime, of course, as we're now partnered with Twitch.
Use it on our
And yeah, sub to
channel,
us.
please.
Yeah, need any casters? Anyway, on that, thank you very much, Dockers, for joining us and wiping away those tears to come speak to us.
I still can't see anything from all these tears.
Yeah, no, and all the salt. Have you shriveled up? Like, just.
I'm so dehydrated.
Thank you very much, Joe, who's been crying, but for the opposite reason. Thank you for coming on. And thank you, of course, the legend, the huge legend. No, not quite massive yet. If you invite me to cast, then maybe. The huge legend that is Ollie Shouts, twice on front page of Twitch, followed by the Newell, by the way, premium caster, premium caster, and legendary Project Yasuo. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for my guests, and we shall see you next stream. Which next time I'll actually put in stream announcements, so people can actually watch from the beginning rather than jumping in halfway. Other than that, thank you very much, you guys, for watching, and we'll see you in the next stream.